Hey fabulous fiber friends, my name is Karen and I am your host. Thank you for tuning in, thank you for subscribing, thank you for following me on Instagram and Ravelry and here on YouTube. I am coming to you from Southern California, from the Santa Monica Mountains, where I live with my husband and our 3 dogs, Maxwell, Lucy, and Boson. Boson is our new little Yorkshire Terrier. He's 5 months old yesterday. Here's little baby Boson. He loves kisses. Yes, you're a good boy. You're still not well, he's better at his house training, not 100%. But he's learning, and he's finally learning to sleep through the night, mostly, at least 5 to 6 hours. Before it was every 2 hours. But we love our doggies. And he loves sitting on my lap while I knit, which is okay, except when it's warm, because then I've got the wool on my lap and him on my lap, and whoof, as you guys know. Today I hope to be fast and furious. We're getting ready for Rhinebeck, as you know, and I will be attending, as you know, or most of you know. And Christy Glass is hosting a knit night, a bowling knit night, during Rhinebeck, and the theme is the As If Tee, which I am wearing. Here's the As If Tee by Shay Johnson of Knit and Crochet. I will link everything below, and so she will be there, and one of the suggestions Christy had was that we all line up for a photo shoot by color, right? Like a rainbow, but go by the colors, and so I hope we do that, because that could be kind of cool. So let me tell you about my As If Tee. I used, it turns out, well, I showed you, those of you who have tuned in before and last time know that I was using knit stitch yarn in DK weight. The pattern calls for a worsted. I used a DK and made slight modifications with needle size and everything. And then I also had a Bay Street Yarns mohair in the colorway Cheshire, I think it is. I will link everything below. And I have mohair on my face. And so those 2 yarns worked out really well together, as you can see. So I'll insert a couple of pictures. Well, actually, I don't think I have many good pictures. I haven't really done my FO dance video for this one yet, because I'm waiting, since it is for Rhinebeck, I may wait and do that video during Rhinebeck. So here's my As If Tee. You can see this lovely design element here in the front and in the back. Ooh la 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 la. Okay, so I knit mostly to pattern. Because I was using a DK weight, I just had to change. Actually, all I did was go down in needle size, and I think I added a couple stitches because there was so much stockinette. I didn't have to worry about disrupting any kind of pattern. But by the time I got up here, I needed to add a few stitches so that I didn't have to mess around with the math for the portion where you make these sort of, you know, bust cup things, whatever you want to call them. And then this, I don't want to say it's intarsia. Maybe it is. Maybe it is sort of an intarsia thing. And I've never done well, I did intarsia last year, trying to make a friend's little boy a cardigan. And I don't know if you remember, but it was bye-bye now, because it was so bad I just threw it away. I couldn't even take it apart and redo it. I was just too frustrated. It was horrible. So someone on Instagram recently found me on YouTube and was looking at my As If Tee and asked about my faux seams that I use on all of my in the round garments, whether I knit them top down or bottom up. I always include the faux seam. So what I do is, if I'm knitting top down, and when you get ready to separate for the sleeves, and you may have to cast on several stitches depending on the pattern, so you may have to cast on some stitches. So whatever that number is, if there is a number, then I will always add 1 extra stitch for the purl stitch. So let's say a pattern tells you to cast on 5 stitches, right? You separate for the sleeves. You put the sleeves on a holder or whatever you do. Actually, I put mine on a 16-inch circular because I find it easier instead of waste yarn. I find it easier than to switch to the DPNs once it's time to work my sleeves. So let's just say a pattern says, okay, so you separate, you take your sleeve stitches, you put them on waste yarn or a 16-inch needle or a stitch holder, whatever you do, and then the pattern says cast on 5 stitches and then continue, right? Knitting your front, usually it's after you separate for the first sleeve, usually then you're moving on to the front of the garment. So cast on 5 stitches, or let's say it says cast on 4 stitches. I will cast on 5 stitches, and of course that middle stitch will become my purl stitch because 2 of the stitches will go to the back of the garment, 2 go to the front of the garment, so my middle stitch is my purl stitch. And I will put a marker on either side of that purl stitch so that I remember to always purl that stitch. You go around, you get to the other sleeve, same thing. You'll separate and do whatever you have, whatever the pattern recommends. If the pattern does not have you increase stitches after you separate, then just cast on 1 stitch, which will become your purl stitch for the faux seam. And again, I use markers. It's just easier for me to remember then to make sure I always purl that stitch. I hope the lighting's okay. It is actually overcast today here in the Los Angeles area, and I think the lighting may not be too good, but oh well, we'll just keep going and deal with it. Now if I'm working bottom up, I will include my purl stitch even in whatever the hem is. Let's say the hem is a 2x2 rib. I will include my purl faux seam, right? Your faux seam purl stitch. I include that even in that like a rib border or whatever your border happens to be. Let's just, like in this pattern, it's rib, even though this was worked bottom up. So what I did, oh, and something else I found, for me, this is just a tip I do. I found I don't like, first of all, I like garments. I want, if I'm doing, let's say a knit 2 purl 2, I always like to start and end each edge with the same stitch. And I used to use knit stitches. So if a pattern said knit 2 purl 2, knit 2 purl 2 until you get to the end, which would be a purl 2 usually, I didn't like that. I would do knit 2. So yes, you will have 4 knit stitches all together once you seam up the sides, because I also do a slip stitch. If I'm working flat, I do a slip stitch so that it's much easier to see my seam, and I don't do the back stitch. I always do the mattress stitch. And so you would have 4 knit stitches all together, which some of you may not like. I don't mind that. However, what I do mind is sometimes those knit stitches, when they're together at the seam, can get a little wonky. So I have decided that on my garments now, I will always start with purls on either end. So I'll do purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, etc., all the way to the end, purl 2, because when I seam up, the seam seems to be cleaner and the edge of the hem seems to be cleaner than having knit stitches together and the hem, the seaming. Somehow the purl stitches together look nicer. Also, typically, it's not an issue to have those stitches front and back together. One, you might think, oh, then you've got 4 purl stitches, 2 from the front and 2 from the back. Once you seam it up, you've got 4 together, which kind of throws off your pattern if you're going knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2. So what I do is I'll adjust those edge stitches and do 1 purl stitch, and then 2 knit 2 purl, 2 knit 2 purl, and then one, once you get to the end, 1 purl stitch, and then my edge stitch, which is I would knit that because that's my seam allowance, if you will. That's what I use to seam everything up. So I always do those edge stitches. And if I'm working, does that make sense? I hope it does. If not, you guys ask me and I'm happy, I will be clearer. or if I have to do a diagram or show you on a piece of knitting, let me know, and I'm happy to do that. If I'm working in the round, like I did with this pattern, I wanted the front of the garment to have 2 extra stitches than the front. And I did that because I didn't want to do short rows on the back of this garment, you know, so that the back would, you know, sometimes when you knit in the round, the back rides up a little bit. So to correct that, you will do a little bit of short row shaping at the bottom of the hem. So instead, I often, and I do this when I knit flat, and that's why I started doing it when I knit in the round, I will add 2 extra stitches to the front of the garment so that the back, it lays very straight. So when I stand up, and I don't know if you can see it, probably not. No, I'll have to get up on a chair and show you. Ah! I almost fell over. Okay, so can you see that? See, my hem is very straight all the way around. A lot of times it'll ride, right? It sits up a little bit higher. Let me make sure I don't kill myself. So that's what I do. I add 2 extra stitches to the front of the garment. Now, it's easy to do if you're just doing stockinette because you're not worrying about a cable or lace pattern. And if I do have a cable or lace pattern, I do work those just in stockinette, those 2 extra stitches. So what I did then on this particular garment is I started with my purl stitch, and I did 2 knit, 2 purl, 2 knit, 2 purl all the way across, ended with my 2 purl because we're in the round, right? Then I had my purl edge stitch, and then I continued with, then I did 1 purl, 2 knits, 2 purl, 2 knits, 2 purl, 2 knits all the way on the back, and then I ended with 1 purl and then my purl faux seam. Okay, so once you look at the garment from the bottom, I'll get up close and show you, only at the seams there were 3 purl stitches together, which I don't think really disrupts the 2x2 ribbing that much. So let me see if I can show you. So can you see that? When I edit this video, I'll see if that worked, me showing you. Otherwise, I will take a photograph and insert it, and hopefully that'll be more clear. So that's just something I do. Number 1, for my faux seams, which I mentioned last time, it helps prevent sort of that, you know, when you're knitting in the round, the spiral knitting, this way the garment doesn't kind of twist a little. I noticed that that was an issue a couple years ago, and so I decided, no, I can't, or a year and a half whenever I started knitting in the round. And I didn't like that the garment seemed to twist a little, not quite on the bias, but sort of. And so that's why I corrected that mistake. So if the person who asked me about that, she was just about to start her as if tee, and she asked me, should she put a faux seam in? And I just said, well, I would. I mean, you know, each of you have to do what works for you, but that's what I do, and I like the look of it. And right, and so here, you know, you could just, here's the seam. And I will take more pictures, maybe on the mannequin and things like that, very close up so that you can see all the details, and I'll insert those here. I love this pattern. It is very easy, except I have to say my frustration with yarn, and I don't know if this is because I hand wind my own yarn balls. When I'm switching from one yarn to the other, when you're doing this in tarja and you're carrying the mohair all the way through, but you're separating, you have to use 2 different balls of yarn for this section. And so every time I had to switch from like one of these triangular parts to the other, my yarn was always twisting around, and I would have to spend time untwisting it because the yarn, you know, just it twists on itself. So that was a little frustrating for me. It slowed me down, and I don't know if that's, maybe it is because I hand you know, I hand wind. I ball up my own yarn instead of using a, instead of making yarn cakes. Maybe I should do that. But I enjoy, it gives me a break from knitting, and I like winding the yarn. There's I don't know, there's something sort of therapeutic about it, so I enjoy doing it. So I am very, very excited about the bowling. Not that I'm so excited to bowl. I haven't bowled in ages and I was never good at it. But I think it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm really glad that Christy set that up and that Shay will be there. And I know a lot of people, knitters and even crocheters that do knit, they're also making their as if tees. So it'll be a lot of fun to see everyone's color choices, and hopefully we can all get a huge group photo. And then I can show you guys when I get back. So let me just check here if I did any, let's see, let me look at my notes. I wanted my sleeves slightly longer, so when I got to this part, I cast on a few extra stitches, which is sort of where your underarm, let's say you were binding off for underarms, well, I cast on a few extra stitches at each end, so that my sleeve cap would be just a little bit longer, because I think, and also I think too, because I had adjusted and was using DK weight yarn and I didn't swatch, I was afraid that maybe it wouldn't be wide enough or something, so I just decided, in case it didn't hang down enough or whatever, that I would at least make sure my sleeves were proper. I had thought about doing a 3 needle bind off on these, and then I decided, I don't know why, but I decided not to. You know, do you guys know, I wonder which is sturdier, doing the mattress stitch or a 3 needle bind off? Or does it matter? Maybe it doesn't matter. But I did the mattress stitch, so I did my shoulders, but it worked up really quickly. It's lovely. Are you looking for a place? Hold on, he may have to go to the bathroom. Where was I? Yeah, so that is about it, I think. If you haven't made this top, definitely make it. It's great, it's super easy. So I am thrilled, thrilled, thrilled with this top, and I can't wait to attend the bowling night that Christy is hosting and see everyone else's as if tees. Next on our hit parade is, if you follow me on Instagram, you know that Corrado Lark just released the Con Ed Cover Up shawl or scarf. And I was a test knitter for him. I've test knit for him before. And this is a great scarf pattern. I used crazy colors that are really more Stephen West, just, you know, kind of wild colors. And if you haven't seen it, go onto my Instagram account and check out. I love making videos. I used to work in the film and television business, so I really love, I'm learning that I really love editing and trying to play with, you know, music and timing and all of that. And of course, I'm not great. I'm not saying I'm the best at it. I'm just saying I enjoy doing it. And of course, the more footage I have, the more pictures I have, the more video footage I have, the better job I can do with that. The trouble is with the royalty-free music, that sometimes is a little challenging because I like really up-tempo, kind of funky music and, you know, fast. And anyway, so I'm having a lot of fun playing with that. So if you haven't seen it, check out my Instagram account and look for the Con Ed cover-up video that I did for Corrado. Actually, I did a couple of them. I sent them to him for him to use on his Instagram. So check out Corrado's Instagram feed, where you can find all the details on his Con Ed cover-up shawl or scarf. So here is my version. Here it is, here it is. All my wild colors. And I love the shape of this. I think it's so cool that we have this like arrow shape, and there are two different endings. I did the straight ending. See? for all you Spanish speakers. So it looks like this. And I'm going to tell you how I did that. And otherwise, all right, you've got this great, really fabulous scarf, which this will be going to Rhinebeck as well. My husband, I may have him wear it because I've been working on a sweater for him for many, many months. Have I finished it? No. Why? Because I'm a selfish knitter. I'm sorry, but I am. And so my husband keeps saying, where's my Rhinebeck sweater? And I said, well, you might be wearing this scarf as your Rhinebeck sweater. So I want to show you guys, look at how even this is. How do I do it? I'll let you in on a little secret. I think I've mentioned this before, or numerous times. When I do a shawl or scarf, and oh, actually, did I show you the other scarf I'm doing? Oh, I did, I think last time. A shawl that I'm doing, the railings shawl. So what I do, what I did on this one as well, is I have learned, and I know there are different techniques for doing this, but I still always ended up with that little bit of like that garter tab cast on nipple. And so to avoid that, what I do is, let's say the needle, cast on needle size is size 6. I will start with the needle size 4, DPNs, and I will do my cast on. I will do whatever the garter setup is, you know, knit 6 rows, knit 9 rows, whatever it is, then turn your work and pick up stitches and whatever until you have X stitches. And then you begin, you know, then you start your pattern. So once that garter tab beginning is done, I will do 1 row in the same needle size 4. Again, if a 6 is called for the pattern, I will go down 2 sizes, so to a 4, do my garter tab, work 1 row in the size 4, then I will go up to a size 5 needle. I work a couple rows in the size 5, then I will go up to a size 6 needle, which is the ultimate size, and then I'll work that on DPNs. Some reason I think I knit tighter with DPNs. I do. I don't know about you guys, so you may have to change it up a little, but I tend to knit a little tighter on DPNs and straight needles than I do on circular needles. So I start with the DPNs, work my way up, even in the size 6, so I will work in the size 6 then for, you know, quite a few rows, and then I will switch to the circular needles. And I have found that that gives me a very nice straight garter tab cast on. And you know, that's one reason that I stopped doing last year. I had such a problem with those nipples, those garter tab nipples. They really made me crazy, like out of my mind insane. And so now that I found this, I said, oh, thank God I found it, because now I can do more shawls and scarves, because I really hated it. I know you can hide it in the work, but it still bothered me. It made me crazy. So this is our lovely Con Ed Cover Up shawl scarf by my lovely buddy Corrado Lark. So check out his Ravelry page and his Instagram. If you don't follow him on Instagram, do, and you can check out the pattern, which was just released yesterday. Today is actually Friday the 27th, so this pattern was released yesterday, Thursday, September 26th. So this is, it's really, I love this. When I was in New York a couple of months ago, and I took this to show Corrado, a bunch of us had dinner together, and I forget if it was Shamika or Corrado or Stephanie, someone said to me, oh, that's like, oh, is that a Stephen West? You're doing like a Stephen West thing. So I guess with all the colors, it is sort of very Stephen West-esque-ish, if you will. So that is the Con Ed cover-up. Check that out. Oh gosh, my ears are all sticking out. I think I may have to wear my hair back for this crown thing. But I made another crown, and I'm going to make one for my husband. He's game for Rhinebeck. He said he's game, so I'll make him a crown as well. And we will both have our his and hers, our crowns for Rhinebeck. I'll just show you this up close. And I used 3 different colorways. One was I had a leftover from Trey Liz. I had one of her sparkle skinny singles from a garment I did last year. And I had a Madeline Tosh light glitter. And I had a Hedgehog non-superwash sport weight. And I had leftovers. So I thought, and I was hoping, right? You're playing yarn chicken. So I hope I have enough to do it. And luckily, actually, I found some extra yarn. So I'm able to make a second one of these. So that is my crown. I'm sure you really can't see the stellina, the sparkles in it. So I guess, let's see, if I put this on with my hair pulled back. And now I need my little flowers up here, right, from Nancy with getting pearly with it, and 144 stitches. I'll do my flowers maybe. I showed you guys that last time. So, and quickly, we had big drama last weekend. I won't go into it because my husband hates me discussing his health issues, but we were in the ER twice, and he's fine, more or less. I won't go into it. He's fine, but we had some scare last weekend. So I was knitting like you can't imagine in the ER. We were there most of the weekend, and then he was admitted to the hospital and all that. So to keep my mind occupied, I knit like mad. And luckily, just by chance, I needed a break from some of my bigger projects. And I thought, oh, it's almost sweater weather. Well, somewhere in the country, in the world. So I cast on a hat. I had one skein of Hedgehog Aran yarn, and I think I bought it to use for a hat, and I don't know, I thought, oh, let me just cast it on and see. So what I did was I used, this is Wild Card, the Hedgehog Wild Card Aran yarn, and I held it together with the highlighter color by Hedgehog it's the non-superwash sport weight. And I held them together for the ribbing section, and then I got rid of the sport weight yarn and added in the Hedgehog mohair. I added in the Hedgehog mohair Wild Card colorway. So this kept me busy, and it's fun. It's very slouchy. It's a little bit big on, not too bad, a little big on me. So my husband and I, one of us will wear it during Rhinebeck. Anyway, so that's fun. That's fun. I love hats. I think I've told you guys before, I love the cool weather. I love hats, and I live in a climate where it's kind of ridiculous to wear hats here, right? It rarely goes below 60 degrees. So here I am, even if it's 60 degrees, I'm wearing hats just so I can wear my hand knit hats because I do love them. You guys, can you even? Those of you who follow me on Instagram saw my Fringe Supply town bag. Oh my God, I love this bag. It's such a great size. Well, I was watching Lisa and Melissa on Espace Tricot, and I've looked at the Fringe Supply bags before, but I'm not like an army khaki type of person. I thought, oh, they're pretty, but I don't like those colors. So when I saw this one on Espace Tricot, I just had to have it because the plum is so beautiful. And it has great compartments. I have glasses in here. There's a place for pens, which I've taken out because I'm using them. But right now, what is in here but Another Love Note by Tin Can Knits. As you can see, I mentioned before, I put my sleeves on needles just so that, and I put little clippies here just so the needles don't come undone or anything gets confused. But that way, when I go back with my DPNs, I just find I struggled so much with putting it on waste yarn and mohair, then going back and picking up the stitches. it's not a big struggle, but it slowed me down, and we don't want to be slowed down because you want to hurry up and get those sleeves done. And so I just found that this worked better for me. So that will be going to Rhinebeck with me. I have so many things for Rhinebeck, and I'm not going to be able to wear them all, you guys. I think that's what, well, it's my first Rhinebeck. So, and there's another sweater I would love to make too. So as you know, I have, can you see this? Let me move her a little closer. Right? I have my Boylan Knitworks, my Soldatna crop. Oh, and this here, I'm thinking, why is this here? Why is this yarn here? This has been in my stash for many, many years, 5-6 years. But I'm thinking about, I want to make more flowers for the crown. So that's sitting there for that. So I've only got about 3 weeks to hurry up and finish this, finish my crown. I have to make crochet my husband's crown. And if I can possibly squeeze it in, there's one more sweater I would love to make before Rhinebeck. And I'm not sure, that's probably a lot more ambitious than I'm going to be able to get done. I guess that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing, for watching, for listening to my little tips and tricks and how I get through my knitting, our obsession with our fiber that we love so much. I know a lot of you are getting ready for Rhinebeck. I will probably see you one more time before Rhinebeck, but if I do not have time to podcast prior to that, please, if you're at Rhinebeck, please do come and say hello. I would love to meet you in person, and just it adds to the joy of our community. So please feel free, come up, hug, kiss, snuggle, tug, tap, whatever works for you. Please come and say hello. And I look forward to meeting you. And I guess that's it. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.